What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Open Great League, and the team we're going to be taking a look at today is FORETRESS, Shadow Drapion, and Mandibuzz. Now this team was submitted to the channel by Nerf Rampardos, but he is actually playing as 10 Sminger 97 in these battles, and he says, I play these battles as though my opponents were unskilled, but honestly there were a few moments where I was caught off guard. The basic premise of the team is to be ABB strong to Ghost and otherwise to Force Switch with FORETRESS and RPS with Drapion/Mandibuzz. Overall 9-1, a fairly neutrally strong team, which is very easy to play. And you can trust him. Nerf Rampardos is currently on the leaderboard. I believe he's just below me right now. So a very, very strong player, consistent legend player. He's just playing on another account. These battles are done, I think, at rank 18. So we'll be taking a look at those today. But before we hop into the battles, I want to say a special thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Reen Mustache, Soham Patil, CD Salaskas, and Eliana, as well as the legend trainer members on this channel: Big Burden, Andrew Pitten, Musachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Esteros, Liminal Lagamore, Tom Spencer, and Fast Idiot Boss. Without further ado, let's hop into some battles. Alright, right away into the first match, we have FORETRESS into Gastron. Now this is a neutral lead, and we kind of have to stay in this matchup because Drapion definitely doesn't want to see this. So we're just going to overfarm here, go for the Earth Power catch onto the Mandibuzz where it is double resisted. Did we get it? We did. That is absolutely massive. And the opponent, their best response to a Mandibuzz safe switch is a Talonflame. And now this is not a hard answer to the Air/Mandibuzz. However, Talonflame does win the ones. That said, Mandibuzz can probably grab a shield or put the Talonflame into the yellow health range with this foul play. The opponent actually does commit the shield, and then they under tap the move after throwing out alignment the first time as well. So now this Mandibuzz has gotten so much free energy that I'm wondering if we can make it to 3 moves, and it's looking like we're going to be able to. However, I'm not sure if foul play will be enough to knock out from this range. It's going to be close. The opponent instead pivots into their Gastron, knowing they're going to get outpaced. They will get off one mud slap, but back in comes the FORETRESS, and at this point this is only enough for a body slam, so we can let this go. This is resisted damage, and I think now we just commit to the full bug bite farm down, coming out with the Rock Tomb loaded to threaten the Talonflame if it wants to come back in, but instead it's going to be a Corviknight in the back, so instantly going to throw this Rock Tomb to lower their attack. And then I imagine we overfarm here. No, I would have overfarmed here to make sure I always had a little bit of residual energy in case the Talonflame decided to pivot back in, and that's exactly what ends up happening. But we end up throwing back-to-back Rock Tombs. The opponent just immediately resets that, comes in with their Talonflame. They get the Incinerate farm down, but that does not matter because we still have a full HP Drapion in the back, which can outpace the Talonflame after one more shield. And now we just have to make sure we can outpace the Corviknight to the crunch, and we can. I was a little worried when you threw 2 in the move to pick up the knockout on the Talonflame, because then you did take the damage from the Incinerate, but the opponent didn't end up getting to a charge move, so you are able to take a Game 1 win. Into next match, we've got FORETRESS into Gligar. Now this is actually a pretty neutral lead. Actually, I was going to say because the opponent is on Fury Cutter, but this opponent appears to be on Wing Attack, and apparently that has thrown off Nerf Rampardos. He does not throw the Rock Tomb before the opponent connects with a dig, which means that is a full power dig. However, this is the non-Shadow Gligar, so it doesn't do that much damage. Rock Tomb connects, that puts them into the low yellow health, but they can probably pick up the knockout with an Aerial Ace or put us very low. Can we get to the Sand Tomb? We can. But if the opponent is counting, they know this is only enough for a Sand Tomb, and they do, so they let that go. But now in comes the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz looking for a full air/farm down. The opponent's defense is lowered, making that a little bit easier. Actually, probably giving less farm to the Mandibuzz. But in comes a Jellicent, and now something is severely wrong with the opponent's team in the backline if Jellicent is their best answer to a Mandibuzz, because that means they're probably double weak to Dark in the back, or maybe the Flying, who knows. Just the core breaking of Mandibuzz. So I would probably, after connecting with these back-to-back foul plays, pivot into my Drapion and save the Mandibuzz in case there is something weak to the Mandibuzz in the back. But no, just going to stay in, force them to throw their energy. Surf does connect. Are we going to pivot out now? No. Once again, are we just going to throw in CMP? No, we're going to overfarm, let the opponent get to a charge move. I mean, we would have lost CMP anyways. But going to commit the shield and then come in with the Drapion, and what's in the back we're not going to know. The opponent comes in with the Gligar only to get Poison Sting farm down. Show us that third Pokemon. What's it going to be? It's got to be weak to Dark. Yeah, it is. It is a Dusclops in the back. The opponent does farm up enough for an Ice Punch, but they don't farm up enough for a return, so we're just going to let this go. Ice Punch connects, that does just under 50%, so we know we can survive 2 here, and we can get to the back-to-back crunches. The first one is going to grab the shield. That is the incorrect play, because if we got the defense fall, then the next one would do more damage. Definitely let the next one go, but now we're going to combo with the Mandibuzz, banking that foul play from earlier with that shield, and now it's just Air Slash versus Hex, and we actually outpace to another charge move before they can get the Hex farm down. Foul play is super effective damage. It picks up the knockout on the Jellicent, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, Fortress into Credilli. This is a fantastic lead. Bug Bites are super effective. Acid is double resisted, and Grass Knot is double resisted. So they're going to safe switch into the Jellicent, and we are going to respond with the Air Slash Mandibuzz. We know we can survive 2 surfs very comfortably, so it does not really matter that the opponent can outpace. However, because we are on foul play and Air Slash, this means the opponent can also live a charge move coming from our way, which means this matchup is actually a little bit closer than you might expect, just because the Jellicent has a pacing advantage, but it looks like we can actually survive 3 surfs, no problem. End up throwing on the CMP tie. I would once again just let this go. We know we can survive this, and they have no ability to Hex farm us down, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And now here comes the foul play. Are we going to go for a little undercharge here? We are, hoping to get a nice little Air Slash farm down. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough. In comes the Credilli. Credilli is going to get a very healthy acid farm down, but now in comes the Fortress. They can connect with a Rock Tomb here, but that's really not going to flip this matchup. Rock Tomb does under 50%. And now the opponent is just going to stay in this match. Are we going to lower their defense? No, we're going to go for their attack instead, just guaranteeing that we live the second Rock Tomb, because these acids are starting to add up despite them being double resisted. But now we can know we comfortably survive this, and we do. And in comes the Drapion to get a nice energy lead, and that was a very smart play because it is a Clodsire in the back, and having an energy lead on the Drapion is absolutely huge. And the Drapion being in the 2 shield scenario is even bigger because we just have such a pacing advantage in this matchup. We basically get to 2 Aqua Tails per their Earthquake, so that is a huge advantage for us. Our opponent does have high incentive to bait in this scenario because of that, but they do only have a Stone Edge, so they're only really saving a little bit of energy there, only 4.5 energy per turn, or 9 energy. But now we are just going to commit the double shield, and now in comes Fortress, trying to force the opponent to throw their energy, and that's exactly what's going to happen, which means Drapion can sweep this end game. All we have to do is make it to back-to-back Aqua Tails, and this game is over. The opponent comes in with Credilli. That makes it even easier. We get the full Poison Sting farm down. We're at the back-to-back charge moves. The opponent knows this, so they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, the Bug Steel battle. We've got Fortress into Scizor. The opponent safe switches into a Blastoise, and we actually don't have a good response to a Blastoise on this team. We can't really come in with the Mandibuzz because Mandibuzz takes super effective damage from the rollouts, and Drapion can't really take a Shadow Hydro Cannon from a Blastoise very comfortably. So just going to stay in, connect with a Rock Tomb, grab a shield at that, and now in comes the Drapion. Drapion now with their attack lowered can survive a Hydro Cannon no problem, and then we can make it to a Crunch, and we've already grabbed 1 shield, so our opponent is very unlikely to give up a second shield in order to chill out for Switch. The opponent does let that go. Back in comes the Scizor, only able to make it to an Aqua Tail, but this will be some solid chip. It'll probably put the Scizor at about 50% health, and it does. It puts them right into the yellow health range. In comes the Mandibuzz, and the reason we're coming in with Mandibuzz here is because Mandibuzz is a complete wall to energy from the Shadow Scizor. Night Slash and Trailblaze are resisted unless the opponent is running X Scizor, which is possible, but the opponent has a Dusclops in the back, which means this game is over. The opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Neutral lead in the next match. We've got Fortress into Moltres. The opponent is going to stay in this match, and so are we. The question is, do we go for the shield and the Rock Tomb? No, we're actually going to let this go and then go for a Rock Tomb, trying to grab a shield in this matchup. Instead, the opponent has other plans. They come in with a Marowak, but Marowak, meet your maker. In comes the Mandibuzz, and Mandibuzz double resist Mud Slap, and 1 Rock Slide is not enough to do 50% health to the Mandibuzz, which means we can survive 2 of those and still win this matchup. And it's kind of nice having fast move pressure in this matchup because we can look for the farm down. However, it looks like the opponent might outpace, so we might be forced to throw some energy here. Yes, we will. Here comes the Aerial Ace. They're in the red health. Aerial Ace will be enough to pick up the knockout. The opponent is just going to let that go. And is it the Moltres that's going to come back in? Because if it is, they're going to get a pretty nice Sucker Punch head start, and that's exactly what's going to happen. They get the perfect farm down. That is super unfortunate. In comes the Fortress, and we had that Rock Tomb bank from earlier, which is absolutely massive. Gonna connect with it, lower their attack, and now in comes the Drapion, not wanting to give up that Sucker Punch farm down. Even though we've lowered their attack, we have to commit the shield here because Drapion is our win con at this point. Our Fortress is just too low, and it is a Glycipod in the back, which means this game is over. We have the energy lead. The opponent is going to let that go because they know they need to survive one crunch or call a bait, and the opponent does exactly that. We can shield the Aqua Jet right back. We can then grab the first shield or the second shield from the opponent, and once they commit that shield, in comes the Fortress. They're going to be forced to throw energy because their switch timer is not yet up, and Aqua Jet will pick up the knockout, but all that does, it set up a perfect farm down for the Drapion. So the opponent switches back into the Moltres. Moltres will get knocked out with an Aqua Tail plus one more Poison Sting, and now we can Poison Sting, farm down the Glycipod, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Fortress into Lapras. Now, this is where it's really useful to being the non-Shadow Fortress, because the non-Shadow Fortress can live 2 Sparkling Arias in this matchup without even going for the Rock Tomb. And you can see that right there. We live in the green health range. Of course, the IVs on this Fortress are not optimal. If you had an even better one, you could survive that even more comfortably, but the opponent's actually going to let the Rock Tomb go, connect with a second Sparkling Aria. This will not be enough to knock out, but it'll put us into the red health range, and now in comes a Shadow Scizor. Shadow Scizor will be met with the Mandibuzz. They are once again completely walled unless they're running X Scissor, and the opponent goes for a Night Slash, which means they are not, but they instantly get bailed out with a double attack boost from the Night Slash. Here comes a Foul Play. At this point, I would just be going straight Aerial Ace. I mean, actually, they're the exact same pacing, exact same energy, so I take that back. Straight Foul Play is the correct play. That said, the opponent is going to... Ooh, I don't know why we're overfarming there. We could have at least grabbed a shield back from the opponent, but instead, the opponent is going to grab a second shield from us. We under-tap the move, even though they were in Aerial Ace range with the Foul Play. They catch it on a Drapion. In comes the Fortress. Fortress doesn't throw a Sand Tomb either. What is happening? Making all the mistakes in this game. In comes the Drapion. We are down energy, down shields. This is a very difficult situation to be in, but hopefully we can Poison Sting them into a range where an Aqua Tail KOs, and it looks like 2 Aqua Tails will just barely not be enough to knock us out. However, here comes Aqua Tail number 1, and I don't think this is going to be enough to knock out. No, it is not. They bank that Aqua Tail for later. Back in comes a Scizor. We're going to farm up 2 back-to-back Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail number 1 picks up the knockout. Aqua Tail... Ooh. Number 2, we had to go for the Poison Sting anyways because they had a charge or had a shield, and the opponent didn't throw, so we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Fortress into Scizor once again. Familiar lead. The opponent safe switches into a Shadow Claw Giratina, and we're going to go for the Dragon, probably the Shadow Sneak catch onto our Mandibuzz. Yes, that's exactly what we're going for. Good thing they weren't on Ancient Power because otherwise we would have caught a super effective move. That said, the opponent can now start spamming out these Dragon Claws, and then we can look to connect with a Foul Play. And Foul Play, it's super effective damage, and this is a Shadow Giratina, which means this probably is going to knock out or put them deep into the red. The opponent is actually going to commit the shield, which is a bit of an interesting play because they are going to not be able to flip that matchup, but instead what they're going to do is they're going to come in with an Azumarill as their third, but we're going to bank loads of energy coming in with our Fortress. Now a complete wall to their energy. Ice Beam and Play Rough are both resisted by Fortress's Steel typing, and now here comes a Rock Tomb, lowering the opponent's attack. As if this matchup wasn't bad enough for the Azumarill, we can now survive another Play Rough if the opponent full sends it, and they do, but that does very little damage. Here comes Rock Tomb number 2, and now that the opponent is even lower, we can probably just come in with the Drapion and get an energy lead, but instead we're going to stay in, let the Giratina get a full farm down, and now in comes the Drapion. The opponent does throw right away, anticipating that the Mandibuzz would come back in, trying to win CMP, but that's not what happens. Just going to make it to a charge move here on the Drapion, but not before the opponent makes it to another Dragon Claw, so forced to commit the shield here, and they're already at another Dragon Claw. This Giratina banks so much energy, we're going to have to let this go and just play to the back-to-back Aqua Tails, and that's exactly what we're going to do because now we have 4 charge moves loaded. I think we have 2 on the Mandibuzz, 2 on the Drapion. Gonna throw back-to-back. The opponent makes a really nice catch of the Aqua Tail onto their Azumarill. Not enough to knock out, but can we get the full air slash farm down? It's going to be close. No, not before the opponent makes one final move, but now we know the Giratina is energy dry, and we have so much energy coming out of this matchup. So what's going to come in here? Is it going to be the Scizor? It is the Scizor in the back, and now we can connect with back-to-back foul plays. Had we gone for the air slash into that foul play, this might have knocked out, but I think that Scizor will hang on. Fortunately, they won't be able to make it to another charge move, but instead the opponent is going to come in with the Giratina. They have even more energy. Dragon Claw picks up the knockout. They get the Shadow Claw farm down on the Drapion, and unfortunately we are going to lose that game. Fantastic lead in the next match. We've got Fortress into Credilli. The opponent is going to say switch into the Jellicent, and we're going to go for a Shadow Ball catch onto the Mandibuzz. Unfortunately, we are unsuccessful, which means the opponent can hold on to all of this banked energy and now start launching these Surfs. Surf is neutral damage, but we've seen this before. It looks like it's going to take 4 with no residual damage on the Mandibuzz. So here comes a foul play. This is super effective damage. The opponent will probably just let this go. They're going to end up committing the shield, hoping to flip switch, but once again, we can let this go. We know we survived this Surf, and they have no ability to farm down with Hex, so just going to let that go. Same kind of thing. They're going to pivot back into the Credilli. Why are we not coming in with the Fortress? We finally come in with the Fortress. Fortress able to outpace with all that banked energy and make it to the Rock Tomb. That connects, lowering their attack, and now their Rock Tomb is going to do even less damage. And even though we might get outpaced in this matchup, these Bug Bites are going to really start adding up, and we know 2 Rock Tombs do not knock out, so just going to let this go. Rock Tomb, not enough to knock out. Get the Bug Bite farm down. Come out with a Rock Tomb or Sand Tomb loaded for whatever wants to come in. What's it going to be? Is it going to be their third, or is it going to be the Jellicent? It is going to be the Jellicent. So instead, we're going to bank all that energy, pivot into our Drapion. I really like this play. And are we going to throw? No, we're going to over farm and throw on alignment. Oh, that hurts. Letting an entire Incinerate in for free. Which means now the opponent might be able to get a full farm down, but actually we are at the back-to-back Aqua Tails, so we should be able to connect with one of these. We can throw 1 Poison Sting and throw. No, yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. But the opponent just commits to the full farm down. They're just playing to the fact that you have 2 shields. They need to fast move everything down, but unfortunately for the opponent, you have too many charge moves. We have charge moves on both of our remaining Pokemon. We're going to come in with the Fortress. Fortress will connect with a Rock Tomb, and they just do not have enough shields for all this energy, so they will go down, and we are able to take that win. Into next match, we've got Fortress into Jumpluff. Now this is a pretty neutral lead, but the opponent is going to safe switch into the Swampert, and we actually don't have a great response for Swampert, so we're going to throw a bunch of Bug Bites and catch the Hydro Cannon, where it's going to do even less damage onto the Mandibuzz. 2 of those are not enough to knock out, which is fantastic for us here because we can live this, and they can't Mudshot farm us down because Mudshot is double resisted. Now we're going to look a little bit for the overfarm, going for the Aerial Ace to pick up the knockout on this Swampert. Are they going to let this go, or are they going to make a play for switch? They are going to let it go. I'm assuming back in comes the Jumpluff to get a nice energy lead, but because they were energy dry, we can throw in good timing, throwing 3 air slashes and now the Aerial Ace. This will do some solid chip, and now in comes the Fortress. The opponent is going to throw some energy. Was this enough for an acrobatics? I'm not sure. It was. So getting that shield call correct is absolutely huge. And what's in the back? It is a Feraligatr. And unfortunately, we overfarmed by just 1 turn too many. CMP tie, which means we have to let this go because we need to save shields for Drapion. But now here comes a Rock Tomb. This will still grab the opponent's first shield. And now we can make it to a Sand Tomb to lower the opponent's defense. Does the opponent know how much residual energy we had? They do. They let that go. In comes the Mandibuzz. Hoping to just force some energy from the opponent. I think they could have gone for a full Shadow Claw farm down. We would have been in trouble, but fortunately they do not. They Hydro Cannon. In comes the Drapion, and with a 1 shield advantage, as long as we always overfarm in this matchup to outpace the Feraligatr, then we will be in good shape. The opponent will now connect with. Is it going to be the acrobatics, or is it an Aerial Ace bait? It is an Aerial Ace bait. That is a huge bait call. I wouldn't have called that because it's the non-shadow. So I would have expected them to be running the energy ball, but unfortunately we do not overfarm. But because we have the shield, we are able to take that win because they cannot get to 2 Hydras before we get to 1 crunch. Into next match, bit of a tricky lead. We have 2 better answers in the back, so we're going to pivot into the Shadow Drapion, and the opponent is going to stay in this matchup to chip with a Dragon Claw, probably before getting out into whatever is in the back. And that's exactly what's going to happen. No, oh, they were actually looking for the catch there. It is a Shadow Scizor in the back, so we've seen this core already. But it is nice to bait this out. Crunch connects, that does huge damage. And now here comes an Aqua Tail, at least going to force a shield from the opponent if they want to maintain switch. But no, they're going to completely sacrifice the Shadow Scizor in exchange for Giratina farm. And can they get the full Shadow Claw farm down? They can. That is so unfortunate. But now in comes the Mandibuzz. We have the alignment that we need, and we just have to hope that Fortress is good into whatever is in the back. And the opponent saying in this matchup means maybe they're weak to Mandibuzz. No, they are weak to Fortress in the back. It is the Azumarill. So switching flip there was absolutely massive. Switching flip or flipping switch? Big brain right there. But now here comes a Rock Tomb. This will lower the attack of the opponent, and we've already seen one play rough without their lowered attack. It just doesn't do very much damage. If anything, these bubbles are really what's adding up. But even these resisted bug bites have gotten the Azumarill nearly to the yellow health range. They're going to connect with an Ice Beam. Here comes Rock Tomb number 2. Is this going to grab the second shield from the opponent, or are they willing to let this go? They are going to let that go. In comes the Giratina. Giratina will be met with a super effective foul play, and I'm hoping we can come out of this matchup with a little bit of energy. Can we get the full farm down? No, not quite, but we kind of have to let this go because all of the charge moves on Azumarill are going to do way more than on Giratina. Still unable to get the farm down. These Giratinas are super spammy. They make it to another Dragon Claw. Surely this time we can. No, the opponent gets DRE and they're at a third Dragon Claw. That is absolutely insane. They grab a shield from us, and now this matchup has suddenly got a lot trickier. But all we have to do is air slash them into a range where an air lace will KO and hope that we can't get bubbled down before then. And it looks like the opponent's Azumarill isn't the highest quality. They will get farmed down, and we are able to take that win. So yeah, that is Fortress, Shadow Drapion, and Mandibuzz. We heard Nerf Rampardos' reasoning behind the team. You're kind of weak to Ghost on the lead because Bug Bite is resisted, so we have 2 Ghost answers in the back. That's the most simple way of doing it. We also have Aqua Tail for coverage against the Fire-type Pokemon with Drapion. And then we have Flyer coverage because realistically, this team is ABA weak to Annihilate. If you saw an Annihilate bleed, that would be very, very tricky for this team. But fortunately we did not, so he was able to go on a nice 9-1 run. I appreciate you all for submitting in the battles. Please keep submitting. I kind of want to just sit on leaderboards and not play for the rest of the season. I'm hyped for the new season. I'm kind of just focused on that and looking forward to making content for that. So yeah, that's going to be it from me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.